right, let's have this conversation. Is no contact or low contact the best answer? I think the way to answer this question is really understanding the intent of the other person. Usually when talking about low contact and no contact, we're talking about going low contact and no contact with very toxic, abusive, narcissistic people, borderline people, all kinds of things in those categories. And so going low contact or no contact are ways to protect ourselves from toxic people. If your reason for wanting to go low contact or no contact with somebody are because you are being triggered by something, but not because they're being abusive, but just something about them is triggering to you, that's different. For example, I'll just throw out like a outlandish example. You maybe might be recently widowed. You lost a spouse. It was the love of your life. There's someone in your life who is madly in love with somebody. Maybe they are about to get married, and maybe it's too triggering for you to be around them. Not because they're abusive, but because that's too hard for you to be around right now. You might decide in that case, I need to go low contact with this person, maybe even no contact, because I need to take time to heal my own wounds so that I can be genuinely happy for them because they mean no harm, no foul towards me. But if you're being triggered because people are being abusive to you, like walking all over you, completely blowing through all of your boundaries, those are toxic behaviors. And certainly there are some things that we each need to do for ourselves to make sure we stand up for ourselves. For instance, if you are naturally a people pleaser, which narcissists tend to be attracted to, then you might allow them to walk all over you. And you're sitting there thinking, gosh, I wish I would stop letting them walk all over me. And so then you decide to start putting some boundaries in place, either with them or you're deciding to go low contact or no contact. There's all kinds of things that can happen there. If what they're doing is really toxic behavior, you might try to have a conversation with them. Hey, I really feel like you're asking me to do a lot of things that make me feel uncomfortable and I feel pressured to say yes. Please stop asking me to do things like that. These are examples, right? So now I'm trying to put in a boundary. They keep overstepping that boundary. Now I need to go low contact or no contact potentially as a solution. Those are different things, right? And I think that's really important to understand the difference. We all have to work to heal our internal trauma, and healing that internal trauma will enable us, empower us to feel like we can stand up for ourselves and say, hey, I need a boundary here, and being able to vocalize it. Oftentimes before we've done any of that healing work, that feels nearly impossible to even have that sentence spoken. But if someone is truly a toxic person and they're constantly ignoring that boundary that you have set, and maybe even taunt you while doing so, or saying that they think that the boundary is ridiculous, or just doing really abusive things, that is not your fault. That is 100% on the toxic person. And then that should give you more clarity on, oh, maybe this person doesn't deserve to have access to me for one reason or another, which means maybe therefore I'm going to go low contact with this person, or they've done this too many times, it's time to go no contact with them. And maybe I'm splitting hairs on this, but I really think there's a pretty strong difference between those two things. If someone is triggering for you to be around because of your own stuff, that's one thing. If someone is triggering you because they are actually toxic and abusive, that is a totally different thing. And it is important for you to do that self-evaluation to say, is it me or is it actually something that they're doing? The result might be the same as far as whether you decide to go low contact or no contact, but the intent is different. And then therefore the long-term implications and what you decide to do later will also be different. If you're not sure whether they're a toxic person or not, it's okay to go low contact with them so that you can, and even no contact with them, so that you can do that proper amount of self-reflection to decide what you do want to do.